Hello, this is What's All About, and in this review we're looking at two watches by a Chinese manufacturer called Foyboss. An interesting name, as I'm sure you'll agree. But they offer reasonably priced dive watches, as you can see, quite heavily based on other watches. Namely, this is, very much like a deep blue, and this is very much like one of probably the most famous watch in the world, the Rolex Submariner. So let's have a look at them to see if they are good value watches for the money. So let's discuss the specs first. So we'll start with this one. This is called the Ocean Master, and the main feature behind this is that it's water resistant to 1,000 meters. So it is most definitely, as you can see, a scuba diving watch. There's no denying that. And if you wanted a scuba diving watch to actually use for scuba diving, then this is actually a very competitively priced option. Let's talk about the size and the dimensions. So 43 mil in diameter. We have a height of 13 mil, so nothing too shabby there, and a lug-to-lug length of 49 mil. Weight-wise, 116 grams, so it does feel pretty chunky on the wrist, feels good quality. As I mentioned before, 100 meters water resistance or 100 atmospheres, so that is very impressive. The movement is a Swiss-made movement as well, which is a nice little cheeky addition. The Ronda 515, which I've actually reviewed a few watches with before, so good plus there. A 22 mil lug width, 1 year warranty. So the price of this watch is RRP of $299, which equates to around £237. Currently, though, it is on special offer, so you can actually get it for $180, which is £144. So that's actually, pretty good going there. Let's move on to the next offering. This is the PX002A. So it comes in 3 different colours, blue, black and green. This is obviously the green option. No guessing as to what it's based on, obviously, as I mentioned before, the Rolex Submariner. So we have 42 mil diameter, a height of 13 mil, and a lug-to-lug length of 50.5 mil. Weight-wise, 159 grams, so it is a pretty heavy, chunky beast. Feels pretty good quality on the wrist as well, might I add. Still got pretty good water resistance of 300 meters, so you could still go diving with this watch, but it probably won't necessarily fit over your scuba diving gear. This also houses Swiss mode movement, the same movement, Ronda 515. So again, that's a nice little plus there, rather than opting for, say, a Miyota or a Citizen or a Seiko quartz. Again, we have a 22 mil lug width, so that's pretty cool, and 1 year warranty. What's the price of this one? So this is $199, which equates to £159, but currently it's available for $99, which equates to 79 quid, which is, in my eyes, a pretty good deal, to be honest. So let's have a look at them in closer detail then, to see if they really are as good as they could be. So this Ocean Master comes in a variety of colours. This one is the green dial, so we have a nice little sort of sunburst, sun ray kind of finish to the dial. The lume is very, very good, actually. I'm surprised by how good it is, really. So we have these painted on lume hour markers, big fat hands as well, which are pretty striking, good for legibility. So they will have decent lume on. Our date window at 3, again, mainly focused on legibility, so that's good. Apart from that, you can't really discuss much more about the dial itself. I mean, the hands do seem a little bit on the thin, cheap side, so they probably could have been a little bit better quality. That's just something that I would have liked to have seen, maybe slightly better quality hands. Moving on to the case then, as I mentioned before, very much like a deep blue watch We have a decent bezel with very nice silky action, provides decent clicks as well. A nice bezel insert as well. Just line it up. So it's a 120 click. So it has two positions per minute on the dial. The bezel insert seems to be aluminium to me, with just printed insert, so nothing too crazy to report there. Nice grip on the side of the bezel as well, and you know, a few nice little details to the case. These like lines around the lugs and around the crown as well. Helium release valve at 2, which is a cool little touch. So just unscrew that, and then that can release your helium when you are diving down to crazy depths. Screw and crown at 4, a little bit fiddly because because of the massive crown guards, you can't really get too much on it, but easy enough once you get it going. So there we go. Can change the date there. Pull out again to change the time as such. There we go. Just screw it back in. Pretty cool little case back as well, with like a funky octopus thing, a bit like Hydra. But it's nicely finished, decent engraving as well, which is better quality than I would have expected, to be fair. One thing that's a bit annoying on both of them is what they've opted for Phoibos. The font is so plain and boring. It's not really very inspiring at all, which is a bit annoying, being that they've got such a cool like logo with the octopus. They've even got a P logo on the crown of this one, so they could have at least used that. So bit of a shame there that they opted for such a plain font face for the logo. Moving on to the strap then. This is obviously made for diving, this one, so it has some stretch in it. It's also extremely long, so I've got a 7¼ inch wrist. I'm on the second hole, and you can see how much space there is to use. So it's obviously designed to go over scuba diving gear, but it feels good quality. It's nice and soft on the wrist as well. And then we have a pretty standard plain tang buckle, which is brushed with the Foyboss logo engraved on it there. So moving on to the PX002A. It's the classic Submariner dial. Literally nothing more you can say, apart from the logo is slightly different. So we have applied, very thin applied hour markers with a polished ridge to them. Our classic Mercedes hands as well. Again, probably could do with being a little bit better quality on all of them maybe, but let's not forget the price of the watch. The loom on this watch again is very, very good, so that's a nice unexpected plus. And we have our Cyclops, which is well aligned to the date and actually does a decent job at magnifying it. Moving on to the case then, it's actually same size as, not necessarily a Submariner itself, but I'd say more like the Steinhardt Ocean 1. So it's 42mm in diameter. So it is a pretty good watch to wear on the wrist, actually, to be fair. It gives great wrist presence, and it does actually look the part. It's just a shame that it's a quartz rather than automatic, because if it was an auto, then it would be a pretty cool watch for the price. So the case, yeah, so our bezel, obviously we have a green insert, that's just aluminium with printed. Really loud, decent clicks on that bad boy. So that gives you a really good sense of quality, and lines up nicely as well. Polished edges, brushed top, again polished edges this side, and then completely brushed bottom. And then I haven't unfortunately been able to scratch out all of the little blue sticker that comes on the crown, so I'll have to get a toothpick on that when I get a chance. But it is a screw and crown. Feels like a decent thread as well. So there we go, easy to use. and it feels decent and solid in the hand as well when you are using it, so that's a good plus. The case back again has that Foyboss octopus, which is pretty cool, and then various specifics surrounding it as well, which is a nice touch, decent engraving as well, so a good quality of finish. Moving on to our bracelet, thankfully the bracelet is fully brushed, which is a sensible choice. Rather than having any polished up top, we have a polished sides instead, so that will hopefully serve quite well against any scratches or anything like that. And then we have a double locking buckle, so we push it closed once, so that's our first lock, and that can be released with the 2 buttons, and then we flip the top lock down, so that's our double lock. So Foyboss lightly engraved there, and then the logo engraved on the top bar, but again, for the price, pretty decent. Okay, so that's both of our watches. Let's get the macro lens on then, and we can have a look at them in closer detail. So starting off with the Ocean Master again. So, just don't think that's on properly. Give me a second. Sorry for this. There we go. Okay, so there's the print work on the dial. We can see the sort of sun ray, sunblast, galvanized steel backdrop to the dial, which is a cool little touch. Here's our painted on loomed hour markers. Some more print work there. And then I've got our hands. Polished, so they hit the light quite nicely. And that orange provides a nice splash of colour. And there's our date window with a subtle little border around it, which is quite a nice touch. Okay, so moving on to the case, here's our decent chunky bezel with good grip around the outside. Our loomed pip at 12. Quite accurate print work as well on the insert. The rest of our case is fully like a bead blasted mix. So we have a blasted finish to the sides. You can see our top is brushed as well. And then on the underside it's all brushed as well. And this is, again, it's a bit of a mixture, really. So there's our helium release valve. Good grip on that. So if I just unscrew it, you can see the top there coming up very slightly, and then screw it back down. And then our crown, surrounded by these big fat crown guards, so you know you're not going to damage it. There we go. And then our case back, so we have our octopus logo, and then our various details around the outside. And then moving on to our strap, so decent top. And finally our buckle. Okay, let's have a look at the PX002A. So our logo there, and our print work at the bottom half. We have our green backdrop as well. Our Mercedes hands, quite thin, a little bit on the cheap side looking. And our hour markers also a little bit budget looking, unfortunately, but the loom therein is good. And here's our Cyclops date magnification window. There we go. Moving on to the The bezel itself, have our loom pip, decent grip around the outside. Polished edges as well, and a brush top. Moving on to this side, we have our crown. You can see the Foyboss logo is deeply engraved on it, and I haven't yet had a chance to pick out the remaining of the sticker. Decent grip on the crown as well. Moving over to the case back. There's the details engraved, and the angry looking octopus also engraved. Okay, so then the strap, the bracelet itself, surprisingly good actually. And polished sides there. And then finally our buckle. So we have our P on the top bar engraved, also Foyboss engraved on the main body of the buckle itself. And then we have a couple of side buttons as well. Okay. So, two very different watches, but both do the same job. They provide you with decent, affordable diving, well-rated diving watches. If you are a serious scuba diver, then really this Ocean Master is pretty amazing value for money. Currently at just under £150. You'd be very hard pushed to find a higher rated watch, you know, which looks pretty nifty as well for this price. So a very good choice. For the RRP, I still think it's relatively good value for money, but there probably are better options out there considering it's quartz. The PX002A, basically it's another Submariner homage. But the price of under 80 quid at the moment does make it a very, very interesting option. The quality is really good for the money. It's got a decent Swiss quartz movement in it as well. It's a shame it isn't, well, for both of them basically, it's a shame they're not automatic. I have spoken to the people at Foyboss. They will be releasing automatic watches this year, so that's pretty exciting. If they can put an automatic movement in either of these and still keep it relatively affordable, obviously the price will go up, that's inevitable. But if they can keep it still affordable, then I have a sneaking suspicion they will end up being a very popular option for many people. So all in all though, very good watches for the money. And you know, it's nice to see watches like this come direct out of the Middle East and Asia. So pretty impressed with it. So this was the Foyboss Ocean Master and the PX002A, and that's what it's all about.